We ready? She's not going to be talking. Good morning, everyone. We just lost our screen.
Came back.
Back. Good morning, everyone. Lovely to see you. So I entitled this talk, Deep Pith Instructions for Daily Life. I really wish to share things that have been very, very helpful for me and are within the realm of, oops, didn't even get to that business this morning. Within the realm of Dharma practice and knowing ourselves and being spiritual. One of the psychotherapists I trained with, her name is Natasha Pren. And pretty much the way she did psychotherapy was to ask her clients, what's it like? And it turns out, if we really, really think about it, what's it like is an amazingly rich, productive orientation towards life. Most of us are turned outward. We have a kind of external gaze that's, we all pick up, we all get trained in as we're getting older. And what occurs in practice and in therapy is we begin to look inward. So it is indeed possible to summarize practice under the rubric of what's it like? What's our consciousness like? What is this feeling of anger like? Is it permanent or impermanent? Is this feeling of joy permanent or impermanent? Is this thought permanent or impermanent? Almost all of our anguish comes when we feel that whatever is occurring is a lot more durable than it is. If we practice and orient in a very, very mindfulness-oriented tradition, as is present in the Theravada tradition, in the practice tradition of Theravada, where they focus on mindfulness, what's it like when you feel something solid in your body? This is what's considered the earth element. But what is it really like? Again, is it permanent or impermanent? Is it actually solid, or is it made up of momentary experiences, pings of pressure that feel solid? What's it like? What's the consciousness that knows solidity like? Is that permanent or impermanent? Is it autonomous and standing on its own? Or is it essentially just evanescent, empty of any solidity? if we have a curious mind to look at our experience, we can go from the outer periphery to the deepest depths of realization with an attitude of what's it like? Buddhist practice is really concerned with the processes of mind. So is a moment of consciousness permanent or impermanent? Is my knowing autonomous or kind of just evanescent, empty of any solidity? Interestingly enough, there are in psychotherapy also ways of looking at what's it like, which can be very, very powerful. I'm thinking in particular of a mode of therapy developed by Eugene Gendlin called focusing. And Eugene Gendlin used to come to retreats in Western Massachusetts with Namkhai Norbu Rinpoche when we would be attending. Turned out he is both historically was a philosopher of microphenomenology as well as psychotherapy. And we're both quite entranced with microphenomenology, and I'm involved with psychotherapy. And microphenomenology is a big old Western term for really talking about what's happening in experience, what happened in a past experience and or what happens in a immediately preceding moment of experience, to look at it very, very carefully. It's very, very similar to Buddhist practice. But in psychotherapy, if we take the same kind of observational skill that we develop in Buddhist mindfulness practice, and especially in this mode of self-knowing that Gendlin brought forward in focusing, we have some kind of pain in our chest. In Buddhist practice, we may really wish to look at, is it permanent, is it solid, what's the nature of that experience? And kind of a metaphor would be looking, but also sensing. In the psychotherapeutic model, a first step is there's something solid in my chest, and that something saying there's something solid in my chest just creates a little bit of separation. Or there's something being angry in me. Instead of I am angry, there's something being angry in me. It's a kind of clunky locution, but it turns out if we say something like there's something angry in me and have curiosity about that something, we're creating a little separation between our mindful consciousness and our experience. And instead of identifying with something like anger, we're creating a little bit of space. And if we take the fortune cookie of what's it like and use sensing and maybe listening as kind of metaphors as how we approach our self-experience, there's something angry in me. What's it like? What's it about? And we add listening and sensing as opposed to looking. And we're just really listening to ourselves. What's this anger about? Or there's some images, or there's some thoughts, or there's some feelings that come up with this sense of anger. And we're listening. What's it like? There may be something we aren't aware of. That, oh, yesterday my boss didn't answer my email. And I'm feeling upset, and now that I think about it, I'm upset that he didn't pay attention to me. It's helpful to appreciate how modern Western psychotherapy and mindfulness practice share some commonalities, but also have some differences. Mindfulness practice is really looking at the processes of our experience. It doesn't want to hear about the stories. It's a very particular orientation to observing the processes of our experience. And if we observe them carefully enough, we can slowly come to an experience of deep spaciousness, which undermines all of our experience. It's so profound. Observing our experience carefully can open up to experiences of deep spaciousness. So what's it like within the process of experiencing, looking at the processes of our experience is a very profound path. But it's also important as individuals for us to know what's happening to us emotionally and personally. And so what's it like when we have some kind of feeling of, I have this tension. What's it like? I'm going to listen to it, and I'm just going to be very, very slowed down. I notice both with myself and working with clients, we all are revved up. And it actually is hard for me, and it's hard for my clients when I do it, but I say, let's slow down. Let's slow down. Let's slow down. What are you actually experiencing right now in your body? And then be with that and see what comes up. It's so different from the way all of us live our lives. We're all, what's on my phone? What's on the computer? What's on TV? What's my partner telling me? As opposed to, what am I actually sensing? And as I sense what I'm sensing, what does it want to tell me? What is this something that I'm experiencing? The anger or pain or joy? What is it trying to tell me? And I listen, I sense. And in the psychotherapeutic model, I'm more interested in images, feelings, thoughts, feelings, not so much tracking that it's impermanent. But what's the information that's contained in my experience? These are two valuable approaches to being with ourselves. And they really can encompass both sitting practice and daily life experience. There is one more deep pith instruction that I wanted to share. It's not new, but within the context of doing these kinds of practices, we can maintain what I would call a Donglen perspective. Donglen is the practice of giving and taking. And the Donglen perspective is, as we're looking at our experience and we're getting more and more sensitive to our experience, whatever arises, we can use it within the kind of compassion frame that we do our practice within, a compassion frame of taking whatever our experience is and relating it to all sentient beings. So we start with, for me, the biggie is frustration. I want to sense what my experience is. I want to understand the process of my experience. I want to sense what this anger is about. Nothing's coming clear. It's frustrating. Well, A, that's an experience, and can we see what frustration feels like? But B, within a Tonglen perspective, we can whatever kind of obstruction we have, it's linked to attachment. And so in this book, The Great Path of Awakening, this is a commentary on Atisha's work on mind training by Jamgon Kongtrul, who was a great Kagyu Tibetan master. This is translated by Ken MacLeod, who is a great Western Lama. For anything that's coming up, it's on page 15 of this wonderful, wonderful book. May every bit of every sentient being's frustration be contained in this frustration of mine. May all sentient beings have the seed of virtue of being free of frustration. May this frustration of mine contain all their disturbing emotions, and until they attain Buddhahood, may they be free of such disturbing emotions. Anything, any lemons can be converted to lemonade. Even if it's physical pain, may this every bit of every sentient being's physical pain be contained in this physical pain of mine. May all sentient beings have the seed of virtue of being free of physical pain. May this pain of mine contain all their disturbing physical and emotional experiences. And until they attain Buddhahood, may they be free of such disturbing feelings and emotions. So sometimes we're stuck. Sometimes we're in a hospital room and somebody's sticking needles in us. It feels awful. And we bring this attitude of whatever this miserable experience is that I am having, may every bit of every sentient being's miserable experience be contained in mine. May they all be free and have a seed of virtue of being free of all of this pain. This is not meant to wipe out the misery you're experiencing. It's not a fix it. It's not a, I'm going to do this and I'm going to be free of frustration, I'm going to be free of pain, and I'm just going to be Pollyanna. No, it actually honors the immediate reality of our experience and doesn't try to make it go away, but it marries that all too human experience that we're undergoing with a vast, vast vision of we are recognizing that not only am I being subject to enormous pain or frustration, unhappiness, all sentient beings experience this in some size, shape, or form. And I'm using the touchstone of my own vulnerability to make the aspiration that all beings be free of this mess that I'm currently experiencing. My own experience with doing this is that sometimes later in the day, I will just feel a kind of expansion of the heart. That's just my experience. You might experience expansion of the heart in the moment. Maybe if you do it, you'll feel your pain and frustration dissolves. But it's not meant to, here's a quick fix-it of pain, frustration, anxiety, upset. It's a method of training the heart to be large, to be expansive, to be within the context of being in a way overwhelmed with misery, to be able to hold all sentient beings in attention. And then you win the lottery. And for sure, at that point, and if you're dancing in the street, may all sentient beings experience joy. This joy that I'm experiencing, this lightness of body, may all sentient beings feel such joy. May they feel the joy of liberation, the joy of understanding. May all beings share in my experience of joy. So we take whatever experience we're feeling. If it's pain, we pay attention to the pain of ourselves and make the aspiration, may all beings be free of such pain. We're feeling happy and joyous. We make the aspiration, may all beings share in joy, lightness, and be free of all difficulty. So we're looking at our experience in a number of different ways. We look at the processes of our experience. We also can listen to our experience. What does it have to tell us? I have some kind of hard to describe sensation. You may not be able to put words on it too easily. Well, we try within the context of a focusing orientation. We try to, it's sort of this vague hardness in my chest, a sort of pressure and a feeling of maybe wanting to lash out. And then we listen, we sense what is happening, and we take time to be with ourselves. Those are observational skills that we cultivate with what's it like. Or we try to see, is this experience permanent or impermanent? Pleasant or unpleasant? Self or not self? We can use all experience within a Buddhist framework. We can also use it to understand ourselves. And then, depending on if it's pleasurable or painful, we take an orientation towards all sentient beings, especially when we're feeling really beset, overwhelmed. This stuckness that I'm feeling, all sentient beings throughout space feel stuck. May I absorb in my stuckness the stuckness of all, and may they all be free of stuckness. In the moment, you may feel a bit of an expansion of your heart, but it may kick in a bit later. We can make use of everything, and the joy and success and happiness I feel, may it radiate with my out-breath to all sentient beings. And of course, there's a practice of taking in the difficulties of all sentient beings with my in-breath, expelling joy and realization, hope and satisfaction with my out-breath. And that's Donglen married to our breathing. We have tremendous opportunities in all of our life experience to practice, to expand our field of concern, and to know ourselves. There's so much pressing us nowadays to orient externally. Our electronic toys and the nature of political discourse very, very much takes us away from ourselves. And so it's an actual training to start looking at the nature of our experience, whether we're doing this in a kind of Buddhist context or a kind of self-knowing emotional context, and also using that experience to expand and understand other sentient beings. There's so much suffering in the world now. So important for us to have an attitude of wishing for this suffering to be reduced and for beings to be free and liberated. Every moment of our lives can be enriched by our curiosity and by our compassion. And with that, we'll take a break until our meditation starts at 11 a.m.